34 years ago, I read a book that changed my life. And about 2 weeks ago, I watched the premiere of The Game Changers, and The Game Changers claims that it's going to change the world. The book I read was Eat to Win by Dr. Robert Hawes. Changed my life big time because I changed my diet. It improved my performance so drastically, I was willing to give up things I like to eat. But I was really serious about being the best tennis player I could be. And it turns out there was a bunch of other tennis players following the advice of Dr. Robert Hawes. In fact, the foreword to this book was written by Martina Navratilova, who was the fittest woman at that time in all sports. And it was because she followed this diet. Interestingly, the number one tennis player at that time on the male side was Ivan Lendl. Didn't know until years later that he too was following this same diet that The Game Changers is all about. It's going to change the world because it's going to prove to you guys that if you really want to be manly, you don't need those animals in every respect. If you want to perform better athletically in whatever sport you want to participate in, you're going to improve your performance when you stop eating animals and those animal products. That's what happened to me. I got real excited about it, but no one could tell me exactly what I needed to eat, or how much rather, because I was so active. But I perfected a very complicated procedure based on my formal training in accounting. I used the tools I was given to analyze money in and money out. I did the calories. So one of the reasons why I'm bringing this up again in this video is because part of that book I read, Eat to Win, had a section called the 3,500 kilocalories myth. And according to Dr. Robert Hawes, it didn't make sense because people could eat 1,200 calories and not lose weight and not gain weight eating more calories. Nothing made sense. None of the equations seemed to work. And I was reminded of that today because Michael Greger did a video on saying how this calorie rule is wrong. And his reasoning is wrong, pretty much for the same reason why Dr. Robert Hawes didn't know anything about what was going on. When you look at this 3,500 calorie rule, you have to understand two things that these guys don't understand. And I do because I perfected this mathematical procedure, and I know the first mistake they're making is they're looking at total calories and assuming all calories are going to be fat calories lost. And that's not true. Because what I had done is I didn't just look at total calories coming in and total calories coming out. I looked at the details. I looked at everything coming in. Is it protein, carbohydrates, and fat? When it's going out, is it protein, carbohydrates, and fats? No one's ever done that before. I did that over 31 years ago. Started to write a book on weight loss. Again, that book, Eat to Win, changed my life. I perfected a procedure where now I can keep track of those calories separately. And I know that you can have a 500 calorie loss and it could all be in the carbohydrate column. And if you do that consistently, after several days, you're going to run out of carbohydrates and you're going to kick in gluconeogenesis, and now you're going to go after your lean body tissue, and now you're going to be burning less calories than you would before, which is part of what Greger thinks is the reason why this rule doesn't work anymore. It's metabolic adaptation. Once you change the calories in, it's going to change the calories out. Well, what Greger didn't understand is that maybe there's more to this 3,500 calorie rule that meets the eye. And there is. For one thing, if you look at if you just look at it from what I just pointed out, if you lose those carbohydrate calories and you end up losing muscle instead, again, your metabolism lowers. And this is what Greger is thinking. Well, this is why the projections are always wrong. There's a plateau on weight loss. And he assumed that is always going to go down, and that's not true. Because a lot of people can lose weight different ways. And the most common way, of course, is to exercise. So if you go out and exercise, you build muscle, and you do it that way, a year later, your metabolism isn't going to be lower. It's going to be higher because you build up more muscle mass. That's what burns calories at rest. So there's so many flaws in their approach. They assume every calorie you lose is going to be a fat calorie, and that's not true. In fact, when I wrote this book on weight loss, I realized why when you ate less calories to lose weight, to lose fat, that you have to eat less fat to protect your lean body mass, to keep that carbohydrate fuel tank full, unless you intentionally let that carbohydrate fuel tank empty and then eat a whole bunch of animal protein to make up for the body eating your own lean body mass instead. I've gone over that in many other of my videos. I'm going to put links down below in a pinned comment on other videos I did on weight gain and weight loss. That will explain some of these things in more detail. What I just said now, it might have been a little hard to follow, but if you understand how to keep everything separate, and you look how everything's absorbed, and you cut everything off at the right time, so that you always know where those fuel tanks are at, you can realize that in order to keep that fuel tank full, well, let me just give you an example. Let's say that I'm a pretty active guy and I'm burning 4,000 calories a day. And now I want to start losing weight. And I want to lose 2 pounds, according to this 3,500 calorie rule, in a week. So that would be 7,000 calories a day is what I want to lose in a week. That's 1,000 calories a day. So 7,000 calories a week, 1,000 calories a day, that would be 2 pounds in 1 week. Now let's say I go from 4,000 to 3,000. What if I just take out those 4,000 calories and let's say I didn't include my protein percentages? It's just carbohydrates and fats. And let's say it's 50 and 50. So 2,000 calories of carbohydrates I'm eating and 2,000 calories of fat I'm eating. And let's also say that when I'm putting in that 4,000 calorie of exercise and activity, that 50% is carb and 50% is fat. So in this case, I'm consuming 2,000 calories of carbs and I'm burning 2,000 calories of carbs. And let's just say that my fuel tank starts at 1,500. As long as I eat 2,000 calories of carbs a day, I keep my fuel tank full. But what if I drop down from 4,000 to 3,000 calories? And I'm eating 1,000 calories a day to get this 2-pound weight loss in 1 week. But what if 500 of those calories are fat and 500 calories are carbs? It's half and half that you're losing. Now, you started with 1,500. You only put in 1,500 and you burn 2,000. Now there's a deficit of 500. You went from 1,500 down to 1,000. And how did that happen? It's because you ate the same percentages. So if you go from 4,000 to 3,000, you keep the same percentages. I'm still going to eat half fat and half carbohydrates. I'm using portion control instead of food selection. This will get you in trouble. Then you're not, it's not 50% of 4,000, 2,000, 2,000. It's 50% of 3,000, 1,500, 1,500. So again, you still have that 2,000 calorie deficit of burning carbohydrates, but you're only putting in 500 back, 1,500 back. So you had a 500 calorie loss. So this is what I'm trying to point out. If I'm trying to lose 2 pounds of fat and I'm going to burn 1,000 calories or eat 1,000 calories less a day every day, then if I keep my same fat percentages, I'm going to lose 500 calories of carbohydrates. I started with 1,500 in 3 days. I'm going to empty out my carbohydrate fuel tank. And the only way I can keep from gluconeogenesis going after my lean body mass is if I eat a whole bunch of excess animal protein. We're up to 58% of excess animal protein or dietary protein can be used for gluconeogenesis. So most people who eat these high-fat diets, that's where they're getting gluconeogenesis. That's where the cats get their gluconeogenesis, the polar bears and the Eskimos. They're getting it from gluconeogenesis, the creation of new glucose out of lean body tissue or protein, not fat. It doesn't go after fat unless it kicks in ketosis, which is what happens when you're completely not eating at all, and then your body changes from using glucose as your main fuel to fat. But this is only one of the main mistakes they're making. They assume every calorie you lose is going to be a fat calorie. That's not true. And that if you're going to start eating less calories, you got to change your food selection, not your portion control. You got to stop having that 50-50 fat and carbohydrate ratio. And the situation I gave a second ago, where I was burning 4,000 and eating 4,000, but I dropped the 4,000 to 3,000. Now I'm eating 1,000 calories less. And now, in order to get the 2,000 calories of carbohydrates, now my fat intake has got to drop to 33%. So now instead of 50-50 fat and carbohydrates, it's going to be 33 and 67%. So now 2/3 of those 3,000 calories will be carbohydrates. So now, not a problem. I can keep going. And as you can see, if I go down even more calories, I got to reduce the fat I consume in order to make sure I get those 2,000 calories of carbohydrates. So if I only ate 2,000 calories, not including the protein, I have to have zero fat. It's got to all be carbohydrates. You see where I went from 4,000 to 3,000 to 2,000. I could do 50-50 at 4,000, but then 33 and 67 at 3,000, and then 0 and 100% at 2,000. So the 3,500 calorie rule might be accurate if what it's based on is accurate, that 87% of lean fatty tissue is fat. 87% of 454 is around 395, and multiply that times 9. That's where they come up with this 3,500 calorie rule. But then they don't understand why it doesn't work. And part of it has to do with they don't understand how to match the calories in and calories out. But the biggest problem that they have, and this is what I figured out long ago, it's not the calories in and calories out. In fact, it was the most humbling experience I ever had, because I worked so hard at perfecting this mathematical procedure that took calories in and calories out to the nth level. No one's ever done it before. But then when I realized it isn't the calories in and the calories out, it's the food in and the food out. We've got 7 major components of weight, and this is the biggest piece of the puzzle these guys don't understand. If you're going to say, how can I manage to eat less calories and gain weight? That doesn't make sense. Well, I remember long ago when I went to this raw food message board, this conversation came up, and I said, I can actually consume 1,000 calories more in one day and lose a couple pounds, and the next day, the very next day, actually eat a whole lot less and gain weight. I could eat 2,000 calories less than I need and gain a couple pounds. Think about that one. How can I eat 1,000 calories more than I need and lose weight? How can I eat half the calories I need and gain weight? I remember Jeff Novak replied to me to this post. For those of you who may have known Jeff Novak or know who he is, he's working with John McDougall now at his place. But Jeff says, "Oh, you know, if what you're saying is true, you need to come to our clinic. We'll monitor you go down the record as being, you know, unique and different." I go, "No, you don't understand. There's 7 components of weight, buddy. How can I lose weight and consume 1,000 calories more than I eat? Because I understand there's 7 components of weight. I could take a solid food vacation on juices tomorrow and not do any exercise, easily consume 1,000 calories more than I burn, and I'm going to wake up less the next day because I won't be processing any food." Now, if you eat the right food with the right bowel transit time, you won't have a whole lot of food that's being slowly taken through your food tube. We should have a fast-moving sewage system, but most of us have a slow, stagnant cesspool where we have dozens of meals that can be backed up in our intestines. It's not uncommon to see people with 9 or 12 meals backed up in their intestines. Where do you think these big bellies are coming from? 7 components of weight, my friends. You have to understand that. You can't just look at total weight and think you understand everything. So I can lose weight, especially I can take that any person who's full of crap, put them on a juice fast, they're going to lose 3 pounds in the first day. I can guarantee you, because they're not processing just that one day's activity of food. And then, how can you gain weight? For me, I was an athlete. I ate a lot of food. I got in trouble because I damaged my intestines. And when I finally woke up and said, "John, why are you stopping on day 30 when you're doing these solid food vacations on juices and you're still having things come out of you? Why don't you go the distance?" 90 days later, 3 months later, I lost 20 pounds on the scale. I had a 20-pound cesspool, a bunch of crap that was inside of me that I didn't realize was another component of weight. And part of my problems, I had these herniated blowouts on the side of my colon wall called diverticulitis. I had a condition known as diverticulosis. I wasn't diagnosed. I don't have to be. And I think it's funny when people say, "Oh, John, how do you know if you weren't diagnosed?" I know because I document everything that came out of me. And when I first saw those diverticula coming out of me, I captured them. I saw them. I go, "This doesn't just look like a little round marble. This has a piece on it that looks like these pictures here of x-ray pictures of people with diverticula. You see the shape of it? It's like a puzzle. My God, if you can't put together a puzzle, that's how easy it is to figure out you have diverticulosis. Or diverticulitis, if there's pain down there, my condition had not advanced to the pain stage where the itis has kicked in. That's one of the symptoms, pain. But I had the makings of it. It's the same condition. It was a herniated blowout. And what happened is I got rid of those. I had about 100 of them on my intestinal wall. And as long as I maintained a healthy diet, didn't make 5 mistakes, ate a raw or vegan diet, I had no problems. As soon as I ate anything cooked, it was altered. It didn't go through my food tube in the same way. So I could eat 100 calories, 200 calories of broccoli or potatoes, and all of a sudden gain a couple pounds in one day. It blew my mind. I was keeping track of everything. You know, didn't have to eat a whole lot less. Back then I was consistently eating about 1,000 calories less than I needed, and at the same time was eating about 175% more carbohydrates than I needed. I was making sure I kept my fuel tank full. But I was really amazed at how I could fill up those old herniated blowouts with the wrong food. The right food didn't go back in there, but the wrong food did. And how do I know? Because it happened to me dozens and dozens and dozens of times. I wasn't 100% perfect in the beginning. And I went through this process so many times, I'd gain weight. I'd go, okay, I see what's happening here. I had something cooked and tried to get it out just by eating nothing but fruit. I said, I won't even eat salads. I'll just eat fruit, see if I can flush it out. That doesn't work. You got to take a solid food vacation. That's why the blended things won't clean you out the same way, because the body's still putting effort in getting that stuff out. Got to take away that energy from processing new stuff to processing old stuff. And when you do that, you can pull that crap out of those pockets, and that's what happened to me over and over and over again. I kept seeing it. The first time I go, look at those, it's a piece of a puzzle coming out. I know what it is. Look how many I had. And look how hard they are. They've been in there for a long time. And then from then on out, I kept seeing the same shapes, but they weren't quite so petrified because they hadn't been in there that long. But it happened so many times, I finally said, John, aren't you tired of cleaning up your mess, making these mistakes? I said, okay. I was forced to stop eating cooked food because I could gain weight by eating the wrong food. So it's real important when you take a solid food vacation. If you saw a bunch of old stuff come out of you, if you went into it with a damaged system, meaning that you saw a bunch of stuff keep coming out of you for a long time, then there's a possibility that if you gain weight too quickly, you can't gain muscle mass real fast. You can't even gain a bunch of water real fast, except as you're processing it. Talking about rehydrating our body on a cellular level, intracellular level. Takes a long time to do that. So, 7 components of weight, folks. 2/3 of our body approximately should be water. That's around 70% of our body should be water. Get a scale that measures your water percentage. If you're not up to around 70%, you're in trouble. If you got a bunch of fat on you, that's going to skew the numbers because fat doesn't have as much water as muscle. So that will skew the numbers, but nonetheless, that's a big number to look at and understand. Then when you look at 50% of the remaining weight, the dry weight, that's the protein. So there's 2 components of weight. Then we have minerals. Man my size, that'd be about 4% of my body weight would be minerals. Most of it's calcium. Then we have 2 storage forms of energy. We got a fat fuel tank, which we all know can be pretty big. Even when you're thin, you've got enough fat to last you a good month easily. I'm talking about having someone that's real low body fat. If you use that 3,500 calorie rule. But then we also have a carbohydrate fuel tank, and that's my area of specialty. I monitored that for 15 months every day, did all the calculations, matched all the calories in and the calories out, took it to the nth degree to each column, kept track of each one, had a cutoff period, took the balances to the next period. It was a very systematic, logical method I was taught in school. It's how the world goes around. Got to understand how to document the money in and money out. Well, I did it with calories in and calories out. It's not that, it's the food in and food out, because now we've got 2 more components of weight dealing with the food in and the food out. So, water, lean body mass, minerals, 2 storage forms, carbohydrates and fats. Carbohydrate fuel tank, a 1,500 calorie carbohydrate fuel tank may weigh 1.5 pounds, 2 pounds. Because for every molecule of glycogen we store 3 molecules of water also. But the other 2 components of weight are the ones we have to pay attention to. It's the ones that they don't understand. And that's why I can gain weight by consuming, or lose weight by consuming more calories if it's in a juice form, and gain weight on less calories if it's in the wrong form, that has the wrong bowel transit time. So we have relatively current waste matter, and if you're eating the way I eat, everything's out of me the very next morning. It has the right bowel transit time. It doesn't take 3 days to go through this food tube. I'm eating food that's designed to go through my food tube at the right speed. But then we've got that seventh component of weight, and this is the one that most people don't understand. I did a video on how to lose those last 5 pounds. The 3,500 calorie rule doesn't work. I'm out here running 12 miles every day. Look at my bowling ball down here. I can't get rid of it. You never will run it off because it isn't fat. It's crap inside your belly. It's what Victor Hugo called the serpent. Jesus called it Beelzebub, Lord of the dunghill, man. You got a cesspool inside you that's making your life miserable. It's the most dangerous substance in the world. I did a video on that. I'll put a link down below, and I'll show you pictures of what this stuff looks like. And I had 20 pounds of that crap inside of me. When people talk about weight loss and they focus on fat, they're clueless. They have no idea that there's something far more dangerous than a few excess pounds of fat. There are things inside that don't belong to you. Things that we start accumulating from day one as a child. If you're raised like most of us, putting in food with the wrong bowel transit time. Takes too long. Takes a toll on the body. After many decades of putting in the wrong food, you end up with bulging bellies. Never forget going to weight loss seminars many decades ago, and they said that for some reason we don't understand the old people gain weight around their bellies. Well, look at me, I'm 65 years old, I don't have any weight around my belly because I ain't got no serpent in there anymore. I pooped the Beelzebub out of me a long time ago. This is the most exciting experience I've ever had. And read the comments on my YouTube channel. Go back and watch some of my old videos. People were making great comments way back then while they're on their solid food vacation. Nothing short of miraculous what can happen when we understand those last two components of weight. And once we understand that, we shouldn't be focusing on the fat. We should be focusing on this uneliminated waste matter that we have in our system. Keeping in mind, we have 2 bathrooms we have to clean. When you take a solid food vacation on nothing but juices, you see the obvious result of cleaning that one main bathroom, part of our digestive system, that large intestines, as well as what's being cleaned in the small intestines, that 22 feet that comes before the large intestines. But then our cells eat too. Remember, a bunch of cells, 2 fluids. Blood is feeding, the lymph system is cleaning. That's the other bathroom. We got to clean that bathroom out because when both these bathrooms get dirty, and if they back up, that's where most of our problems come from. There's something inside you that don't belong there. And it's going to torture you and ruin the quality of your life. It's the most valuable knowledge in the world because it has to deal with the most dangerous substance in the world. That's why Victor Hugo called it the serpent in man. He knew it disrupted the equilibrium between the mind and the soul. And it was the mother of crime and vice. It fills history, what it has done to us. That's why Victor Hugo also understood there's one thing stronger than all the armies in the world. It's an idea whose time has come. And that's where the solid food vacation comes into play. My gosh, if you haven't done one yet, you got to check it out. I have a 2-hour seminar with 31 related videos in the description box down below. To get you really motivated, part of those would be 2 videos I set up separately. The Dr. Roby interview is a must-hear interview. You can hear him on day 21 of a solid food vacation, explaining how great he feels and all the great things that happened to him. It was on the Deborah Duncan show. I had 6 of my students. You can see what happened to these people. I've done a video on what is the healthiest diet for humans, a 1-hour video that explains everything you're going to need to know to understand how to reverse and prevent virtually every illness you'll ever have. I'm very passionate about what I discovered long ago. 34 years ago, I found that first book, Eat to Win. But then 29 years ago, 29 and a half almost, someone introduced me to another book, Are You Confused? By Pablo Areola. Boy, that opened my eyes up and realized I was barking up the wrong tree. Again, it was a very humbling experience. I was on the calories in and calories out tree at the very top. Look at me. I figured out how to keep them separate. I figured out what none of you guys figured out. But then I go, wait a minute. there's another bunch of trees over there. I'm on the wrong forest here. Had no idea. I was barking up the wrong tree. Don't think about calories in and calories out as much as the food in and food out. And when you go from what you've been eating to what you need to eat, you're gonna have to double check those calories just to make sure we're getting enough total nutrition in our body. Because the foods we're meant to eat are very high in water and very high in fiber. You might need to eat 5 times the volume. Oh no, I gotta eat 5 times as much. Well, wait a minute. I thought you liked to eat. Don't you like to eat? Of course you do. Oh, I don't like the taste of fruit. Well, take a solid food vacation and watch that bring your taste buds to life. It's the only food that wants you to eat it. And the only reason why some people don't like fruit now is their taste buds have been so molested through the cooking process, through the creation of all these new molecules, all these new colors and odors and flavors that have molested our eyes and our nose and our taste buds to a point where we now perceive a withdrawal symptom as hunger. Not supposed to have an all gone feeling down here in the stomach, folks. That's why we're under a spell. We're being exposed to flavors we should never be exposed to. We can take something that's utterly disgusting to even think about putting in your mouth, but yet if we throw it in the fire, we can change the color of it, the texture of it. We can make it crispy. We can throw it in some fried oil. We can do all sorts of things to transform something extremely disgusting into something that all of a sudden now has a bunch of flavors, especially when we start adding a whole bunch of spices into the mix. It's hard to make sense out of all of this, isn't it? When you have people say that the 3,500 calorie rule is wrong and they don't even understand that we have 7 components of weight. Who are we supposed to trust? Gregor's not a nutritionist in any way, shape, or form. He's a doctor. They're not trained in nutrition. And even if he had a PhD in nutrition, that would be a handicap, not a bonus, because they'd be put in a box so tight they'd never find out the truth. It threatened their existing paradigm. So if you watched any of my other videos, you know I harp on this a lot. Our so-called experts in health are not our so-called experts. Our educational systems are controlled. One of the realities that one comes to when they adopt a raw vegan diet or a solid food vacation and they realize their problems go away, they realize it's obvious that doctors have not been taught what they need to know about the cause of the disease and what do we do if we get sick, or what should we do to prevent it. They're totally clueless. And that should make you realize, well then, we pretty much can't trust anybody who's been formally educated. Watch the Norman Dodd interview. I'll be sure and put that link down below. I should mention that video in every video I do to help everyone understand how our educational systems are controlled. Experts in every area, whether it's history or science or nutrition, medicine, health, you name it. They're being manipulated so that the status quo stays the status quo. We can change that. In fact, it's the only way things are going to change. It's got to be a bottom-up solution. It's got to be you guys out there realizing that you only look at calories in and calories out for a short-term basis when you adopt the right type of diet, simply to make sure you are consuming enough. But then you realize it's all about the food in and the food out. Eat foods that want you to eat them, that have the right bowel transit time, so you maintain a healthy life, a healthy weight. And most importantly, if you do this, you will be eating your biophotons. The most important nutrient we need in our food are biophotons. And they do not exist in dead food. Once something has been cooked and heated, it's no longer living. It can no longer store that sunlight energy that's hitting me right now, that's stored in the nucleus of all living things on this planet. The plants and animals and fungi. Humans, we've got biophotons that emit energy. Communication. It's our sixth sense. It's the biggest mistake we have ever made, is when we stopped eating our biophotons, started cooking our food, got under a spell, created all these Maillard molecules, all these new colors, aromas, and flavors. We developed a withdrawal symptom down in our stomach that we perceive as hunger, when it's a withdrawal symptom. It's a morbid sensation. We're not supposed to feel that. That's why I love Plato's quote, whatever deceives men seems to produce a magical enchantment. And that's what we're up against. Everywhere you go, you see people, you know they don't know this. And if you've tried to share it, you know how difficult it is to get people to even entertain the idea. That's why one of the first videos I put up on YouTube once I got going, I called it The Ultimate Solution, 11-part video series. If you want people to find out the truth about what's going on without overwhelming them, watch that video, because you don't even know I'm talking about food until maybe part 7 or so. I keep saying we're making 5 mistakes. I was very vague for a reason, because that's how we have to get through to some people. We got to get them intrigued somehow to realize there's a better way of life, that there are some really serious ramifications to the very simple things we do, but we've fallen in love with these things we do, and it's real hard to get people to entertain that idea that they might not want to keep doing something that they love. Again, I found that out a long time ago when I changed my diet, when I read Eat to Win, and my performance skyrocketed. I liked eating what I ate, but I was serious about performing the best I could. Now I realize that applies to life in general. You want to perform the best you can. When you finally figure out that we have 2 groups of needs that I explained, and what is the healthiest diet in the world, we got to satisfy those 2 groups of needs. And when we can do that, we'll be the best that we can be. And that is when everyone will be in for a treat.